Father in heaven, I'm so thankful you can gather us here to study your word. I'm praying that you guide us into all truth, that we may learn how to apply these things to help those who are suffering from disease. But help us, Lord, to help ourselves first. Give us help who are studying health and sharing the health message. To the honor and glory of your name, we prayed in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. I am going to share something on the screen for all of us to perhaps be able to rejoice in studying together with me on on politics. I have some slide here. It's not very big, just going through some notes. You are at liberty to ask a question. I might not see your hand raised, so please let me know. You can just unmute yourself and talk. So poultices, the natural healing through the laws of health. That's what we're talking about today. Uh, okay, one man, and the name of this man is Thomas Edison. He said the doctor of the future will give no medicine. A great scientist. Just imagine he said that the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of human body, preventive medicine, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Beautiful, powerful. I bought some spirulina, if you know that, and I was reading through the tag, and they were saying the future of medicine is in giving a wholesome food to the society. I don't know if that is true for those who are in conventional system. It might not be true, but it's true that if medicine has to make sense, it must move away from things that corrupt the system to things that helps the body to fight disease. Okay. One man whom we chorus his words in every graduation square, if you're graduating from a medical school, he said, let your food be your medicine. That was Hippocrates. Okay. Was a great doctor. In fact, medicine is known to originate with him. The Bible says, and the fruits thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. Ezekiel 47, verse 21. Okay. Genesis chapter, just setting foundation for this. 129 says, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for food, for meat. That's God's diet plan for humanity for as long as humanity would live. When humanity sinned through Eve and Adam, God added to their diet herbs of the field. If you remember, the Bible is clear in Psalms that the herbs of the field shall be to you for medicine. The herbs of the field for service, to service your body. When you take your car for service, when you suspect that you have run it for quite long on the road, and you think that the system would not operate to the optimum if you continue that, it needs new oil, it needs new filters for proper operation. You take it to the service. The body has to be serviced occasionally. Once in a while, we need to service the body. Just the same way you remember to service your car. And God has put it there. And he said, for the service of the body, we need herbs, our field. And that's why we do cleansing programs. In fact, I would like to remind us that God, in his ideal system, he knew that after sin came, disease was inevitable. And God said, because disease is there, they will be wearing out. I need to give them something that is very proper for servicing the body. Nothing services the body like the herbs of the field, the vegetables of whatever form, either taken as herbal concoctions or decoctions or teas, or taken as juices, or taken as leaves, or even applied outside as we shall be seeing today. Excellent. Thomas Edison, he said, I believe the science of chemistry alone, true chemistry. He says, the science of chemistry alone proves the existence of an intelligent God. What was he saying? I think I understand what this man was saying. In other words, when you look at chemistry itself, you'll see that there is a true God in heaven. It's powerful. Let me give you an example. An example is, the Bible says that blood is life. So for you to have life, you need blood. But when you study again, the Bible says plant is life. That should be, I think, Deuteronomy 19 verse 12. Plant is life. And blood is life. So if you look at that equation and bring it into a biochemistry class, and this is what you'll find out. Plants have chlorophyll. And blood is made up of hemoglobin, hemo. And then globin, the protein part. If you look at the chemical structure of hemoglobin against the chemical structure of chlorophyll, do you know how much similarity is there? A great similarity, except one has at the center magnesium, the other one has the center of that structure iron. When you take chlorophyll, especially heavy chlorophyll, you are as good as doing a blood transfusion. Think about that. And that's why God sent us back to plants. He says, go and use plants, use herbs. It's for your service, okay? And we know that disease comes from different sources. Some of the reasons, sometimes, rarely, but disease can come so that we give glory to God. Some people would never recognize God until they are sick. But majorly, diseases come as a result of the violation of the laws of health. And diseases come as a violation of spiritual health as well. Three major causes of diseases. And the Bible tells us that the curse causeless shall not come. There is no curse without a cause. If I'm sick, I pray to God. And one of the things I tell God, it is not without a cause. So forgive me. Why my immunity is where it is, it's not your problem. And somewhere, either I must, I look at my immunity, I didn't check on those things, and I'm sorry. Help me to make amends so that I can live better tomorrow. One thing we have to understand, the Bible says there is no curse causeless. Everything that comes to our body, we are not to blame God. Some turn to God and say, why have you left me to suffer? We are not to blame God. We are to humble ourselves before God and see what sin has caused. And it's not the originator of sin. Satan is the originator of sin. And we have decided to surrender and follow the counsels and the whisperings of Satan. Disease never comes without a cause. Ministry of Healing 94, very interesting. And we quote this in case of disease, the cause must be ascertained and healthful conditions must be changed, wrong habits corrected. The nature is to be assisted in efforts to expel impurities, and we must reestablish right conditions within the system. What are poultices? When we are talking about poultices, and many times in our health sessions, we have been looking at those things that we can apply internally, apart from the water therapies that we've looked at. But there are those remedies, those treatments that we apply externally. We use them outside the body, and they give results. This is a very light topic because it includes herbal surgeries, which is one of the big fields of study. one of the most amazing, one of the greatest doctors in herbal surgery known in the history of the world. They kept arresting him, Dr. Oxy. And we then know Dr. Christopher, we know Brother Wilson Mammon, many of these doctors that done herbal surgeries, being able to remove tumors without actually cutting the body with a knife, a scalpel. It's been pretty good to read the works and to have talks with this man. The compress, or rather the poultices, are applied externally. They are not applied internally, and yet they give almost the same result. A poultice is an application of vegetable herbal matter to the unaffected area that breaks up congestion and draws it out through the skin. A compress breaks congestion and dispenses it via the bloodstream. So when it's a compress, it actually does not draw out, it actually dispenses that congestion, it breaks it down, and then throws it to the bloodstream. So in that case, you have to get what cleans that bloodstream so that it goes outside. Very important to note. Okay. A simple one we will look at, and then I'll give you time to react to this. Onion. Things that you have in your kitchen. One of them is onion, a red bulb onion. Onion can be used raw or cooked depending on the condition. The oil and essence have a stimulating effect on human tissues. It absorbs morbid matter. It can be used to absorb toxic fumes. So throw away any leftover onion. You leave onions on your table and reuse it tomorrow after you cut it. It had absorbed all the toxin in your room. So you don't want to cut an onion, leave it halfway, use tomorrow. No, you put it in your fridge, it will take all those toxin substances. You want to clean your kitchen, you cut pieces of onions, put them there, it will take the molds, the bacteria, all the things are flying in the air, it will attract them, and then good for disposal. Any onion that has been half cast is good for the dustbin because it has been a cleaner. If our son is suffering from a cold or so on, we cut pieces of onion, we place next to him in the bed where he sleeps, and it does its work amazingly over the night of attracting all the infections, cleaning the area around the around the sleeping room, especially the bed where the baby sleeps, and that gives him fresh air and traps any infection, and the oil itself sends a rejuvenating, cleansing effect to the system. Cooked onion. How do you use cooked onion? And basically, and you have a separating or pus producing wounds that are producing pus. Roast onion. You just roast an onion, then split it into half and apply it directly. Be it a boil, be it whatever it is, abscess, just take your onion, roast it. After you've roasted it, it's pretty hot. Get it out, hold it with something, cut it, let it cool, put it on the wound, it will draw out. That's simple. That's an external application. Very simple, very basic, something you can find at home. Okay. What about ear aches? You're having an ear that is aching. I've done this one practically on a friend of mine in remission. Ear aches. Dry bake or steam that onion for 15 minutes. Keep away from water, do not boil, then cut the onion in half crosswise, wrap in a cloth and bind in the ear, both sides. When you're dealing with ears, you don't deal with one side. If one side is affected, you have to deal with both sides. Children are suffering from a lot of ear infections. And it's because of this idea of putting children on dairy products. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Bringing up children on dairy products, pretty bad. And so there are a lot of suffering. Children are suffering from a lot of ear problems. And you want to be sure that if that's the case, take that onion, cut it after you baked it, or you simply steamed the onion for 15 minutes, cut it into two, let it cool so it doesn't burn, just to temperature which is containable. Wrap it in a cloth, and then put in both ears, and then bandage it there, leave it there. It will actually pull out that pus and the infection. Onion. And onion is really powerful, really powerful.
So how long do you how long do you leave it on the ears?
It's best at night. It's best at night because it will work sufficiently long enough. If you don't have that time and it's really painful, it's a day, just put it there for three hours. That's sufficiently good. It doesn't draw very fast. It's slow but very sure. Slow but very sure.
But a grown-up person would accept to lay on this onion probably if they have big pain. What about children? Because they will just probably pull it off.
What you do for children is, yeah, very young babies, you have to do this when they are asleep. You probably have to do this when they are asleep. You lay down there. By the time they wake up, it will already done its work. Time they wake up, if they wake up after 3 hours, you're scared, it will already done its work, depending on how your children, how often they wake up at night. But there is an option which you can do for earaches. I'll tell you a preparation where you prepare garlic oil. When you prepare garlic oil, you take olive oil and then you use olive oil as a base to extract the oil, the garlic element from the garlic. And then that oil is what you drop in the ear. It will do the same work. Just do a drop this side and drop that side. It will do the same work. So
I have also heard that if you take 1 drop of tea tree oil and put on the back of the ear, it will actually help the ear, the earache, even if you don't put it. Of course, you should not put it into the ear, but behind the ear, that it absorbs through the skin.
Yeah, it's true. The essential oils will be able to go through the skin. Externally applied, goes through the skin. And tea tree oil is very powerful antibacterial. So makes sense.
So what about, we were talking about hydrogen peroxide. That will also kill earache, right?
Must be food grade. It must be food grade.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that, sister. Now, raw onion can also be used for congested head. Slice an onion in a plate and leave it near your bed overnight. Breathing in onion fumes clears the airways and opens your air. So just using an onion around you at night clears the airwaves, opens the air. What about calluses? When you have dead matter on the skin, cut an onion into half and steep it into vinegar. You can buy the vinegar. Probably vinegar is not allowed to be taken in. Well, there are cases where it might be used in case of disease. I'll give you an example. When a woman is wearing out of energy and power, about to deliver, and you want to give something as good as a quick IV, you could use it with cayenne and honey. If she's just about to deliver, you can use that vinegar. But you have to know that it's not to be used in our daily diet. Why? Because it will deplete your platelets. It will deplete your platelets. Not good. But now, in this case, vinegar is also good if you want to get rid of what you call, if you want to get rid of some forms of arthritis, bone diseases. If you are able to wrap vinegar around that area, it will be able to draw out purine from the area. But here we are just dipping the onion in for 3 hours and then bind onion halves to the area that has the dead matter and on the skin, anywhere on the skin, and leave it there for hours before removing it, or at least overnight. 3 hours basic for most of the poultices. There are poultices that don't take more than 3 hours. I'll tell you an example is garlic poultice cannot go to 3 hours. It's sometimes very dangerous, except one which should be done under strict supervision, but it's miraculous. Garlic poultice that goes for 6 hours is for very severe arthritis. Very severe arthritis where, and probably rheumatoid arthritis, someone has come to a point where there's a lot of fluid accumulation. And that poultice is done. It will leave blisters and burns, which are easy to cure than to leave the person bedridden and on a wheelchair. That's the only poultice that I know. It leaves blisters and burns, but it's no worry to a medical missionary who understands what they're doing, because they weigh keeping the patient bedridden against curing the blisters. Because once the blisters are formed and you cut them with a clean sterilized scalpel, the water that throws out is the toxic water that leaves the patient free to be able to move around. A powerful remedy that was discovered by Brother Mammon, and it's really miraculous. It's a miraculous healing. So it's powerful.
You know, just to get this clear, Brother Zaddoch, if you have got this, what did you call it? Get this on the top of the blister. How are you preventing the blister from? Because somehow that's a cover over a wound, right? Yes. Are you just using a little needle so that you get that fluid out, or what are you doing for that?
Or if you do a garlic poultice that causes blistering, you are to use a scalpel or a needle. Okay, you can use a needle, but if the blisters are so big, you might need to cut a little bigger so that it throws out the water. It's a dead skin anyways. So you need a scalpel. It's a medical knife, like a blade, a medical blade. You slice on the blister and throws out the water, and then you just apply the natural remedies for healing of blisters. Blisters are not high degree burns, so they are easy to arrest.
Right.
But in most cases, if it's done for someone who had very severe rheumatoid arthritis, they'll be able to flex their muscles and get out of that wheelchair. But you have a work to do, which will take a few days. To heal the blisters doesn't take long, compared to keeping someone working on the arthritis. Yeah, sure.
I once had a brown, these brown spots people get on their hands, right? And for some reason, I had a problem here on my finger, and I made a garlic poultice. But at night, I felt that it was burning a little bit, so I put it on the top of the hand instead and hope that would help. And the day afterward, I've got a huge wound there, and so I burnt away the brown spot, actually. So I was happy to have that burnt away, but that's not to say that we are going to get rid of brown spot in burning them away with garlic, but that happened to me.
It's true, and we need to be very careful with garlic. It's very powerful, can blister you. we have to. You have to be careful. Go ahead.
I was saying you were speaking of basically removing fluid from the joints, and I know Maimon, when he was here, he went over using the garlic poultice to remove water from the knee, which brings the same relief, because water in the joints is where the problem and the pain and pressure comes from. So it as far as the blistering, we've seen it also, and the blistering can be intense, but it's a minor thing compared to what you're treating. But it needs to be used with wisdom, because the chance of infection is high if everything isn't sterile. For those of you that want to know what Zaddoch was talking about in a scalpel, Here in the surgery, we call them a number 15. They're a standard curved surgical blade. You can get them in a package of 5, and they're relatively cheap at the local pharmacy.
Man, thank you so much, brother Van, for that. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
clarifying.
have used lots of onion poultices because before now I don't have this inflammation in my colon anymore. But before I knew how to get rid of it, I used lots of onion. If I had pain, I put the onion on at night, and in the morning the pain was gone. Of course, it was somehow just a symptom treatment, but it was really a big blessing.
Amen. Well, onion can also be used as a cough syrup, and this is common. We do use it quite a number of places. Many of us know it. But if you slice your onions and then heat them, and then you add honey, so continue in this way, layering the onions and the honey until the jar is almost full. A syrup will be formed. Leave it overnight, strain it in the morning, and use that for your coughs. And onion is powerful bronchial dilator, and it will be good for your throat. It will be good for your coughs. It will be good for your colds, and you can keep it. You can keep it and use it to break your coughs when you're having very hard, dry coughs. It will be very good. A very good syrup. And there are more things you can add to it. You can add a honey, you can add garlic to it. You can make basically even a Russian penicillin, which is equally good. You have your cayenne pepper, you have your lime, you have your honey, you have your oranges, you have your garlic and your ginger and your peppermint oil and your eucalyptus oil. You make them together, and then you take that one as a cough syrup. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. Well, cabbage is another thing that you have that I want to talk about. You can get in your house and about your place. It's common here and very cheap. Is cabbage. And cabbage, the chlorophyll in the cabbage poultice encourages the screen to eliminate toxin while supplying nutrients to the area affected. Nothing, and I've used this personally on myself. And I was actually telling my wife, if this joint pain doesn't go tonight, you are going to put cabbage in all the joints that I feel are paining, because I know that's the only final way we are going to eliminate it. Thank God my pains went by morning. And cabbage poultice is so powerful because the chlorophyll in it helps the skin to eliminate toxins, at the same time supplies nutrients to the affected area. Cabbage is very helpful to bruised sections, swollen section, and even good at elimination of stale blood and build-up fluids. Many breastfeeding mothers, if you have a child, so apply cabbage leaves in the first 2 weeks of lactation and testify to the relief of the cabbage poultice during that period. Well, once you've removed the center stalk of the cabbage piece and leaf, and either dip the leaf in a boiling water, soften it. Some people iron it. They literally iron it, put it on iron or something, a piece of cloth, they do the ironing. Doesn't matter what you use. It just needs to be simple. Some people just dip it in some hot water and remove it. Okay. I prefer pounding it. Just take some wooden stick from your kitchen and pound it all over, so that it becomes sort of very flexible to be able to wrap on the affected area. Now, if it's in your knee and you take cabbage poultice, put 3 layers. You're having an inflammation, arthritic inflammation. You're having a lot of joint pains. I want to challenge you. Someone is having very serious pains in the joint. take those 3 layers of cabbage, pound every one of them, 3 leaves of cabbage, wrap it there with a cling foil, and wrap it now with a cotton cloth so that the heat is concentrated. Ensure you wrap it with a cling foil first. The heat must be concentrated there, concentrated. When it builds up the heat, it develops an ability to draw out the toxin, and it pulls out the toxin. When it pulls out the toxin, it leaves relief into the system. Person wakes up with a lot of relief. You can try, and that's just cabbage poultice.
So do you remember that how Mammon explains that? Is it the oxygen? Because you are cutting, you know, you are what you do, you know, you do this on the leaves, so the fluid comes out a little bit. So is it that the oxygen is actually pulling out the infection? Is that the theory?
Yeah, you expose it to oxidation. You expose it so that oxidation begins. And in the process of oxidation, it develops the ability to draw away the toxin. That's why you don't put it as a whole leaf without bruising it. You need to bruise it so that in the process of oxidation, it actually will be pulling out the toxin from the under the skin. We have Epsom salt and soda, and Epsom salt is quite cheap equally. Here in Kenya, Epsom salt goes about 80 Kenya shillings. That's 0.8, I think, US dollars. Not very expensive. It's easy to get, as well as soda. So that's magnesium sulfate and can be used externally equally. It has the ability to draw off poisons and replenish lost magnesium from the system, conveying it to the nerve endings. Very important. Epsom salt taken internally is very harsh and not advisable. And I explained that last time we were talking about liver cleanse. You say you use it under instruction. In that case, you are using it to clean the liver. And if you put 2 cups of Epsom salt in warm water to bath, and then you stay in it for 20 to 30 minutes, you are going to solve a lot of body aches, body cramps, and insomnia, lack of sleep. If you wanted to solve insomnia very well, you're having a difficulty in sleeping, before you go to bed, go to the lawn. Go to the lawn, walk barefoot on your lawn for about 15 minutes, come and take a bath of Epsom salt, line Epsom salt, then take a tea of what do you call? We call it take a tea of chamomile and passion flowers, and you'll get a lot of improvement. So Epsom salt is very good for relaxing the nerve system, and that's what is causing you to lack your sleep and miss your sleep. So insomnia can be solved by an external application of that. Go ahead, brother Treasure.
Yes, I got one question. What can we do if we don't have a bathtub available?
When you don't have water available?
No, but bathtub. So I only have a shower, not a bathtub.
All right. If you don't have a bathtub available, yeah. Well, I have worked with people who don't have bathtubs, who just improvised. I don't know how to explain how I improvised it here. I dug a hole. I put something like plastic paper inside it. There's just a way we improvised it. And I have many ways to improvise depending on where I am. And you're able to use that to collect water. And then we were able to soak someone there. Another easier way is to have a welder fabricate for you something that's very basic and simple that you can be able to use where you are. But I have literally dug a hole for a patient.
Yeah.
Dug a hole and then just put something like plastic sort of covering inside, and then I was able to dip it inside there.
Mm.
And that's what we used for that time, because that's all I could be able to find.
Mm.
So you can improvise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also know another way of improvising is using cement proof, a waterproof cement. Those who know how to use waterproof cement, and they make bathtubs like structure, but just using concrete in their homes. And then what they do is now, instead of that, they will pour water, literally hot water into the tub, and they maintain the temperature manually. So someone has to be there to add water to that bathtub to maintain the temperature. So I think depending on your place and time, what you do might vary, but I think you can always find something to do. If it's an emergency, you can improvise something. Because here in Kenya, bathtubs are very expensive. They are very expensive to get. Go ahead.
So what about massage with Epsom salt? Would that be great? I mean, they do salt massages. So would Epsom salt massage be relaxing for a person who maybe have difficulties to sleep?
Yes, that would be good, but not as good as soaking yourself in the water when the water is hot. That is ideal. That's the best I would actually prefer for such a person. Salma, go ahead.
Selma.
Yeah. Yes. I was just going to say I don't have a bathtub either. Just a shower in my room too. So would a basin? I have some basin that you can put your feet in, like 2 basins. Would that help or no, or just your feet?
Well, for Epsom salt, that's fine because your feet can absorb it and it goes to your body. When you do a whole body soak, that's when you need something big enough,
right,
where you can lie. But when you're talking about Epsom salt, for Epsom salt, you can actually just dip your feet and the body will take the Epsom salt from your feet. So if that's what you're talking about, Brother Terje, that one you can use a basin, a bucket, just dip your feet, put your Epsom salt concentrated, dip your feet, it will be able to take the magnesium in and relax you. But if you're talking about a whole body soak, then that's where you need a big enough bathtub. Thank you.
Question 2, would you put less Epsom salt in, like if it's just for your feet?
Pardon?
Would you put less than 2 cups if it's just for your feet, because it's not the whole body?
Depending on the amount of water that you have to scale that down. One good thing is the body will not take more than what it needs in that case. And so if you put two in a small bucket, I mean about 10 liters, I don't know what that sounds like there, that would be quite a lot. So perhaps you scale down to maybe a half, I think, depending on what you're using.
Okay, thank you.
So this question came to me right now. Since people say that we should take extra with magnesium tablets now because of the situation in the world, would it be a good idea to actually, as Selma was saying, taking food baths, would that be enough, or enema with Epsom salt, because that would be absorbed into the body too? I mean, do we need to take extra, tablets with magnesium, or difficult question?
Well, that depends. that really depends. When it's taken inside for an emergency, it's justifiable. Just like I'll explain to you, there are 2 types of vitamin C. There's not really 2, there are so many but I want to narrow down to two types, the effervescent and the tablet. The effervescent is so that it goes to the body and give effects fast. The other one will still do the same thing, but it will take time. So that's the same principle that applies with whether we're going to take the magnesium through the skin. It's not very advisable to drink the Epsom salt internally. So it will still go, but its effect might not be as fast. Magnesium sometimes might be needed to be taken internally, but not in most cases. In fact, the best thing to do is not always to be living on supplements. We should be living on supplements from living foods. So we take a lot from the living food. But the reason why we take supplements, sometimes our foods do not supply enough. So once in a while, based on what is in your area, and you should understand, you are able to supplement with certain foods which you don't have. And then you get the supplements that are concentrated in the elements that you're lacking in most of your food. So sometimes it's justified to use magnesium tablets. It's justified. Sometimes you realize that someone does not have good peristalsis. So you are wondering why someone does not have good bowel movements, and you're doing everything. There's just a possibility the problem is not with their diet. The problem is with lack of magnesium that relaxes the muscles. And the muscles are not relaxed, there can be no peristalsis. So the person ends up constipated.
Oh, so you're saying that people are taking too much magnesium, they can get constipated?
Well, what I'm saying is magnesium is very important for your relaxation and contraction of your muscles. And that's the basis upon which we actually have food move from the mouth all the way to the rectum and out. It's about muscle relaxation, contraction, and relaxation. If you're lacking magnesium, sufficient magnesium in your body, you'll be having poor relaxation and contraction.
Right. Yeah, so yeah.
What food sources? What is the best food sources for magnesium then?
Greens?
Yeah.
Isn't it
Yeah,
greens?
the best.
Now you're on mute.
The best food sources for magnesium are dark green leafy vegetables. You want to be having them. But we have been attending a class, doing a class on agriculture, and realize it's not all about that. The soil on which that vegetable is grown matters a lot. There's a possibility that we can eat dark green leafy vegetable organically grown, but deficient of nutrients. That's a possibility, deficient of nutrients. So then that takes us to our agriculture class. So we have to ensure that we feed the soil rightly with the right elements to receive those elements in the crop as we eat them. And we hope God will help all of us to do that. I can see we have about a few minutes. Let me say something here, and then we could be able to, while we can also use Epsom salt for burns. We say make a saturated solution of Epsom salt and dip cloths, squeeze cloths, dip a cloth in and squeeze and place on the burn. We said the best thing is to keep it in your fridge if you have a fridge or a cold place. And that water is what you can use in case of an emergency. There is a burn, there is a heavy loss of magnesium. That's why you feel the pain. That's why probably you are going to have pneumonia when you get a huge burn. Well, I'll tell you, I have burned, I think, 3 parts of my body. I was young. So one of the reasons you're going to get pneumonia attacks and so on is the heavy loss of magnesium from the system. because of burn on the spleen. And that's why you're saying in case of an emergency burn in your kitchen, wherever in your house, the first thing you want to do, dip that cloth in your already made magnesium sulfate water, and then squeeze it on the areas that are burnt, right? This replaces the lost magnesium while cooling the area. This mix will encourage rapid healing in the damaged tissue. This is a very old remedy and a very effective one. Very effective one. Crystals of epsom salt can be mixed with grated potato and applied to the burn. This combined bring an excellent solution. That's why we say 2 excellent treatments for burns. Mixing the 2 are very ideal and very important. You can add aloe vera gel, Irish potato honey, or raw egg mixed there and then applied in the burn, and you experience a very radical healing process.
But when you say,
go ahead.
But when you say that we shall make it very concentrated, what does that mean? How much salt to how much water?
I'll say that 1 to 4 is good enough. So if I fill my glass up to quarter way, I will top it up. And that's a lot of water because I expect to just dip my cloth and squeeze it there, because I need as much magnesium in case of a burn. So I use 1 to 4, 1 to 4. So if I have about 5 liters jar in my kitchen with that, I'll fill it quarter way with salt, and then I will top up with water and keep shaking until it reaches the saturation probably. And then I'll leave it there. It's loaded with magnesium. Well, if my water doesn't get that all dissolved, then I am sure my water is a little bit having of some salt. I need to lower the ratio and find the right saturation, maybe in the next preparation, but it should reach the saturation level so that it has the maximum amount of magnesium it can hold.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, I think that is good enough. I just wanted to maybe talk about I've talked about garlic. It's just something I wanted to. Well, we know about charcoal poultices. And talk about cayenne. We talked about it last time in about 2-3 minutes. Cayenne pepper, which comes from capsicum family, it's a system stimulator, not a neurological or nervous system stimulator. Its stimulating effect is on the blood. And when you have proper blood circulation of proper blood, good blood, then health comes. Good health depends on proper circulation of good blood. So as a result, it strengthens arteries, veins, and thins the blood. Cayenne pepper never irritates, it stimulates. We need to see that. It stimulates. It's not an irritant, it's medicine. Cayenne pepper has no effect to revitalize everything it touches. It never harms. Cayenne pepper has a dramatic effect on blood movement, which explain some of the bad effects. And we can use it internally and externally. And we've talked about the internal use, even in terms of stimulating heart or in cardio processes, heart and circulatory system, acute or serious cardio crisis. It's very good for that because it has potassium. Cayenne is very high in potassium, which is an essential mineral that the body uses for healing. This mineral is depleted, especially when a person is under stress. So when you're under stress, you begin having difficulty with your blood circulation system. So how is it used externally? We're talking about external uses of cayenne. We said it can be used to stop bleeding by just heaping a lot of cayenne powder into the cut. It can be used when you have poor circulation by putting it into water in a bucket and dipping your feet in that hot or warm water. Very good. It stimulates circulation. When you're having a joint with pain, arthritic joints and pain, you make a poultice. How do you do that? You mix it with some sort of solid oil, maybe coconut oil, solid coconut oil, or you can make it just a normal Vaseline oil, what you can find around you. That mix and make a salve and apply the salve there. It will burn a little bit, but it will finally get the pain outside away. So there are a lot of other poultices we can use. External application, castor is good, comfrey is good. You are having difficulties with your bones, you're having a bone problem, you have comfrey, very powerful. I hope you guys know comfrey, and there's a lot here in Kenya. I don't know about your place. Comfrey contains a growth stimulant called allantoin, which causes massive cell growth. This is particularly helpful wherever tissue damage or bone damage has happened, and explains its nickname, the knit bone. Comfrey contains a substance that depresses the secretion of prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are primary triggers of inflammation. Comfrey is a potent anti-inflammatory agent. And so you are having a bone damaged, or bones broken, or ligaments, or tendons, or muscles. You want them to respond quickly, smash your comfrey. And after you smash your comfrey, wrap it around that area. The comfrey will bring it back to life. It will knit two bones that are broken or fractured. Except you just need to be careful enough to know that the bones were placed back to the right position, because it will cause that growth. And when it causes that calcification process, if the bones were not reintroduced into the right place, it will be off. And that will actually bring a big problem, because perhaps they'll have to break it off again, which is a very painful process. What you want to do is to be sure that whoever is working on it has brought it back to its right place before you apply comfrey or before you apply Bonset. Otherwise, that's what I wanted to share for today. I can see we are 3 minutes past time. So I don't know if there's a question or comment. You'll be free to.
I was looking up comfrey. It's a Norwegian. For those who are Norwegian, it's valurt. I was looking that up because I wasn't sure what comfrey is in Norwegian. Yeah, Tarja, I can see your hand is up.
I think I forgot to lower it.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's much information here. And so thank you so much for, we have to look at this several times. Yeah, Vern.
This something we do quite often. We keep quite a bit in the home. We're making quite a bit of it right now. And this one here is just was made November 23rd, and it's sliced fresh garlic from the garden in unpasteurized fresh honey. We use it to make an antibacterial. Also, my wife does this one. I can't remember all the ingredients. It's a darker form, and it's used with the whole cloves. And we use these as like a cough syrup or anytime there's irritation in the throat. And this one here, we quite like. And of course, it's popular with those that like Korean foods or Asian foods. It is ginger in honey. And if you try and purchase this in the store, it's quite expensive. But we found that you can buy ginger. $10 worth of ginger will make 2 jars like this. And it takes quite a bit of honey, but the ginger one has to be refrigerated. For some reason, ginger and honey doesn't keep well, whereas the garlic and the honey will keep in almost indefinitely. So we also use it to preserve garlic when we have an excess of garlic from the garden and the honey. It is a good way to preserve the garlic because garlic, of course, only keeps so long on the shelf. We do this with the honey infusions with a lot of different things, pine needles, for different purposes and treatments. The comfrey one, for layering on comfrey, I had mentioned that a few weeks ago, that I had massive bruising and tissue damage on my leg. And 36 hours later, you could not tell that I had damage. The ability of the lantern to knit, as Zaddoch has said, positioning of the bones is critical because the healing is so rapid. It causes bone callousing to take place very rapidly. And to me, the amount of relief is wonderful. Now, as a farmer, I don't like comfrey. We had various people put it in their gardens on our facility. And if you're not careful, it'll take your yard over in a hurry, and getting rid of it is not easy. The more you plow it, the more you get of it. You can't plow it away. You have to physically remove it. A little piece of root left, it'll come up again, but it is a wonderful plant to have. We used it both dried and fresh because in the winter months you can't have it fresh, so you keep it dried. But it has so many wonderful uses. The Epsom salt has a number of different effects externally. Internally, it'll also cause dysentery if you're not careful with it. As Zaddoch said, its uses internally are not highly recommended. But the garlic for the removal of water from the system is very painful. We've used it a number of times for, as you said, you removed a brown spot from your hand. Well, it's because it literally removed the tissue. There are better ways to remove those aging spots. And that's something maybe Zaddoch or my wife can address at another time. But all of these things we get externally, like brown spots, are a sign of tissues breaking down and aging of our organism. And there are ways to bring health to that again. Thank you, Zaddoch. You bring to my mind and memory, because a lot of these things we don't get to use regularly unless you're around people that have these different problems. And here, fortunately, in North America, we don't get a lot of the problems you get in Africa from pestilence and disease, albeit we certainly see different ones. So it's a good thing to learn these things, though. We've been watching some of the old videos from Eamon Wilson again and reminding ourselves of the many things that he taught us and the many, the things that he has learned through, as he said, trial and error. We too don't have a bathtub. It's very common here to have just showers. And so you have to improvise. And not difficult to do if you apply your mind to it.
So Werner, thank you for sharing. So when you are putting garlic in the honey, you said you use that for cough, and you also use it to have the garlic, to keep the garlic. But if it's just to keep the garlic, wouldn't it be just as well to just do some fermentation on the garlic?
Well, we do that too. But in the case of the honey, you suit two purposes. You make yourself a medicinal and at the same time preserving the honey. And so we use the garlic in regular food preparation and such outside of the honey and save the honey for that same purpose, because you don't have to have the garlic in the honey after the infusion is made. The garlic is just an added benefit. I like just the taste of it. I don't mind eating it regularly. The ginger I love. I like Korean food. My wife and I like very hot foods. And we grow our own capsicum and hot peppers here. And so we find the benefit of the capsicum, and this was something that Eamon emphasized a lot, is people that have capsicum and hot pepper family in their diet regularly don't have gastrointestinal problems, because it keeps the tone and the health drawing blood to those areas regularly and keeping the area clean. If you can, and it's something adaptable. People say, oh, I don't like hot food. Well, when we started out, we weren't super fond of hot food either. And now I can eat the extreme, and I find it quite pleasurable. But the health, the tone that it gives to the dietary tract is very beneficial. And it's one of the few herbal medicines that are good internally and externally. A lot of them, they don't work. They work on one side, but not the other so well. But the capsicum, we use it in salves. And I'm sure, Zaddoch, you're familiar with making the peppermint and Cayenne and Vaseline salve. The effect of that on injury and healing and relief is it's until you've experienced it, it's hard to believe how rapid it is, and the permanent cure. that it brings, it doesn't just treat, as you said, Eva, symptomatic. It takes the problem away, especially if it's tendon or cartilage damage. It brings the ability, and used carefully and cautiously with DMSO, you can find relief in physical injuries that the modern medical world says, oh, just live with it. You're old and it's an injury you're going to suffer with, but it doesn't have to be. We've seen it take in people in their sixth and seventh decade, take injuries and bring them back to full freedom of movement, simply with cayenne and peppermint oil. You mentioned Zaddoch, the oregano, as Thurier was mentioning there. We have used that, and it's very like it brings a lot of pain. But we have seen it used in sinus treatment. Mayman treated one of my staff that his life was failing, and the treatment was for him to literally, as you draw salt water in to flush your sinuses, we were mixing high levels of peppermint oil and a little bit of oregano in there, and the purifying. I felt when I felt an infection coming on, use a drop of oregano oil in warm water with baking soda and salt. And the salt, of course, stings, but you need it there because the straight water is not good in the sinus. The baking soda relieves the sting. The oregano is very hot, burns a lot, but I found when I do that, I get up the next morning, there's no sign of an infection. It's gone. And I used to get infections working in the field because of the reaction to the pollens when I was doing hay. But if I would come in and do a sinal flush with that, I would have no following infection.
Thank you. Yeah, Lida.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much again for the presentation. The comment on comfrey, I've been using comfrey for my trigger finger, and it really has worked wonders. And because my whole prayer was, Lord, I don't want to go for another surgery, and it really has helped. So thank you very much, and blessed Sabbath to everyone.
Thank you. Selma.
On that cayenne pepper, is there any kind, like in the grocery store, you have to go to a special health food store to get a special kind of cayenne pepper?
Well, you need to go to a food store to get it, unless you are growing yours and you're sure that it's the right one. As I said last time, your cayenne pepper should be running to very high Scoville heat unit. And we saw last time, probably above 40,000. Very good medicinal cayenne peppers, above 90,000 Scoville heat unit, some to 140,000 Scoville heat unit. African bird's eye cayenne will achieve that in most cases.
Now, the other question, like in the health food store, I did see tablets, but it has to be powder, right? It was 100,000. No, it was 100,000 units, heat units, but it was in a tablet. It should be powder, right? Powder form, or yeah, that's what I thought. No, tablets, no good. Okay, I didn't get it. Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if you raised your hand again, Vern, or if you didn't take it down.
I did put it up again, and there is a caution with buying cayenne. Typically, the grocery store version is 40,000. As Zaddoch said, the good one is 90,000, and the very best is 180. When you find different values than that, and it does vary a bit naturally, but when you find 140, these versions quite often are mixed with other herbs. They're not pure, and I'm trying to get it to come to my mind, and maybe you can remember, Zaddoch. I have a food allergy to it, but it just isn't coming to my mind right now. One of the herbs that is also red that it's mixed with, and this can be good in certain treatments, but for most of the use, you want pure capsicum. 180 is the best, and you usually have to buy that. And I say usually because up until recently, the only place we could get it was from the herbal wholesalers. We could get the 90 and the 180. But now recently, in the last few years, my son discovered it, and so we've been buying it also. Some of the grocery chains now in North America, Safeway or Sobeys, they're affiliated. They carry the 90 or the 180. Unfortunately, you have to have a bit of an eye for it because they are different in color, and they don't always label them because they're not aware. They're just selling a food product. But as soon as you buy it, you will tell the difference, because 180 is very hot compared to 40 to the taste. But the benefit as far as salves and stuff, I like the 180. You don't need as much of it, and the effect of drawing blood is much more efficient. But be known that when they're 40 or 100 or 140, they're often blended and diluted with something else, which is for food purposes fine, but for treatment purposes, you're better with the pure. It throws the recipe off is the problem, because then your mixture isn't the same.
Thank you for that one.
So any last word, Brother Zaddoch?
Oh, turmeric, that's what I was thinking of. It's turmeric they often blend it with. And as you know, turmeric is more orange. So instead of having the brilliant red in the capsicum, you get more a diluted red or an orangey color.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. So we're thankful for that, friends. And I just wanted us to pray and end at that point. And so let's pray. Holy Father in heaven, we are thankful we can talk about simple natural remedies. We can share. And we are asking in a special way that you help us, Lord, to know how to use these things on ourselves and how to bless others from this knowledge. Keep us, Lord, closer to you as we go about, Lord, to spread the third angel's message using the right medical missionary work. Lord, let us not walk as a right arm alone, flying all over without the gospel. Give us the entire body, that we may do an holistic work in these final times of this world's history. This is our prayer by faith in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.